Hi everyone, today I'm doing a review of scientific connections through inquiry level 0. So this is the teacher's guide and the student workbook. This curriculum comes as a downloadable PDF. I just printed mine at home and did the binding myself, but you can certainly get it done professionally. I printed the teacher's guide double-sided to save on paper, but printed the student workbook single-sided because some of its activities require cutting. I actually added a few blank pages as well so that when my son does a cutting activity, he can just paste it on a blank page. That way I can keep all of the activities from this level in one place. And that just simplifies things for me. One of the key features of this program is that it intertwines 4 major strands of science, covering the biological, chemical, and physical sciences, as well as earth and space science. It's a fantastic secular science curriculum, and it's meant to be done over a 36-week period. Here you have the contents, and as you can see, it's divided into 13 units. Each unit has about 3 to 5 lessons, which they call sessions. I just want to describe in a nutshell what each unit is about so you can get a rough idea of what they cover. So in level 0, the first unit is about organizing things into categories based on similarities and differences, as well as understanding that organization leads to clear logical thinking, which is fundamental to science. Unit 2 is about distinguishing between living or biological things and human-made things. In this unit, children use the organizational skills they learned in the previous unit to sort everything around them into those categories. Unit 3 again uses those organizational skills to categorize things into different states of matter, so solids, liquids, and gases. This unit also goes into how many things are complex combinations of solids, liquids, and gases. The organs of the human body are great examples. So the heart muscle is solid, but it pumps blood, which is a liquid. Or you can think about lung tissue, which is solid, but the lungs fill with air, which is a gas. And I had such a great time with my son talking about this and identifying the gaseous, liquid, and solid parts of the human body. It was challenging, but it was a lot of fun, and he thoroughly enjoyed it. This unit also goes into how many substances change their states depending on their temperature, while some don't. This was a fun unit for sure, and the activities were fantastic. Unit 4 is all about different forms of energy, and children learn that energy is required to make things go. So basically the idea is that objects don't go by themselves. For something to run, there needs to be some form of energy like light, heat, or electricity. This unit also teaches children how energy moves or can be moved from one place to another. So for example, electrical energy is conducted through wires. And sometimes electricity can jump through space, and lightning is an example of that. Unit 5 introduces children to the concept of gravity, how gravity is measured, why celestial bodies stay in orbit whereas other things fall, and why things like birds and airplanes, though affected by gravity, can stay in the air because of counterbalancing forces. In Unit 6, children will be subdividing living things into the plant and animal kingdoms, and in doing so, they will learn the key distinctive features of animals and plants. They will also learn that whether directly or indirectly, all living things depend on sunlight as a source of energy. Unit 7 is about air, and here children will be taught that air is a form of matter, and like other forms of matter, it also occupies space and has mass. This unit also introduces the concept of the atmosphere and explains how our planet is divided into the 4 spheres of the atmosphere, geosphere, biosphere, and the hydrosphere. Unit 8 introduces children to the changes we see in the sky and what happens during day and night. It also goes on to explain that the day-night cycle is due to the Earth's rotation. Unit 9 uses a lot of hands-on activities and reasoning to teach children that the forms of matter, so solids, liquids and gases, are all made up of tiny particles. Unit 10 uses toys, simple devices, and again a lot of hands-on activities to help children understand the distinction between kinetic and potential energy. This unit explains the flow of energy and concludes with the notion that the sun is the basic source of energy for both the biological world and our technological world. Unit 11 is about distinguishing materials and recognizing that despite the fact that humans make all kinds of different things, the kinds of materials we do have for construction are sort of limited. And children will learn to recognize and distinguish between some of these key materials like metal, plastic, wood, glass, rubber, and so forth. Unit 12 also uses a lot of hands-on activities to teach children what force is and the distinction between force and energy. They will also learn to estimate and measure force in this unit. In Unit 13, which is the final unit in this level, children will be introduced to the basic concept of life cycles and will learn to compare and contrast the life cycles of mammals, birds, frogs, insects, and plants. There's also a section in here about natural selection, evolution, and reproduction. I also wanted to point out that what's great about this particular curriculum is that these units really build on each other and are linked by themes that work together to give children a comprehensive understanding of their world. So now moving on, here we have a little section on the creators of this program. Eileen is obviously the author. She has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics. The illustrations, layout, and photography was done by Tiffany, who is the author and creator of another great secular program called Torchlight. Inspiration for this program comes from another popular science curriculum that has been around for many years now, called Building Foundations of Scientific Understanding, created by Dr. Bernard Nobel, who actually also reviewed each unit we have here. Here we have an introduction. This does go on for a few pages, but it's a great read and I highly recommend reading it because it gives you insight into how this science curriculum is put together, how it's meant to be used, and what to expect from this program. There's also a legend for symbols that are used throughout this teacher's guide, so that's really helpful as well. Here we have the goals. There are two main goals. The first is to deepen scientific understanding and thinking. Here they talk about methods that work and those that do not. So for example, having children concentrate on memorizing facts alone doesn't lead them to truly grasp the scientific concepts. What does work is developing metacognition and making connections, which means that we must not only guide children to observe and learn facts, but we must also encourage them to weave those facts into broader concepts so they can make connections between what they're learning in science and what they're seeing, finding, and experiencing in the real world. The second goal is to encourage children to find joy in learning, which teaches them to become self-motivated learners. There is also a little guide to asking the kind of questions that invite the child to think and use their reasoning, and this is definitely helpful. So here we have a checklist of supplies that is divided up by the units, so you can make sure you have all the supplies you need before starting a particular unit. Then we have a suggested schedule. This is meant to be done over a 36-week period, and they suggest doing 2 sessions or lessons per week. But you can easily tweak this program to fit your homeschooling schedule, whatever that might be. Then we get to the baloney detection kit. This is super fun and very relevant. It teaches children to engage critically with literature and to evaluate scientific claims while being aware of pitfalls like making generalizations and universalizing. Now, to give you just an example of a unit layout, each unit starts off with the list of sessions in the unit and all the materials you need for the unit along with any extras. The extras are completely optional but are great for enhancing the lessons and extending the learning. Then down here at the bottom you have a list of books. Again, these are optional, but we think they're great because we love using picture books and living books in our homeschool. They really get my kids engaged and excited while helping to cement the topics. Then you have a section here giving an overview of the unit and its connections to other topics. It's a brief introduction to the big picture of what they will be learning. Throughout each unit, you will find these kinds of symbols, which are reminders of activities, videos, discussion points, science notes, and student pages that you need to do. And each unit ends with a wrap-up, along with further suggestions for investigation. I just wanted to point out that this science curriculum is not scripted, so this is not something you read to your child or just get your child to read. This is supposed to help the parent or teacher be prepared and give you clear instructions on how to guide the discussion and the research questions and help your child through the learning process. At the back of the book, there are all the answers to the activities in this level. And at the very back, they have also provided a buying guide for microscopes, which is really handy to have if you don't already own one. So now just quickly moving on to the student workbook, there's quite a few activities to do, and they're really fun and engaging. And my son really enjoys doing these kinds of cutting and pasting activities. I think this is a great science curriculum. It uses a multi-sensory approach, and I love the books, hands-on activities, and the videos are really helpful as well. Also, I like how it's in full color, which is definitely a plus for me. Each level can also be scaled up or down to meet your child's needs. And that's really helpful when you have kids of different ages. I hope this has been helpful, and thank you so much for watching.